Hey, I'm Dave Gardner here at Danforth Music Hall. I do front of house and tour manage with Matthew Good. Good show last night, second show tonight, and a third one tomorrow, so a couple of chances to get it right and just tweak things every day. It's great, like if you have a really good first show, you know, like I don't really want to do much. There's a few things from last night I know I want to come back in with like virtual sound check and just do some tweaking on a few things, but not do too much to it. But yeah, 3 in a row is always nice. So on tour I've got a Pro Tools rack, so I'm multi-tracking every show, and then I do virtual sound check the next day using an Avid profile at front of house. Running AES into a Dolby Lake that's controlled by a tablet, and then analog outputs to house. So for tour, we're carrying everything but racks and stacks. So it helps keep consistency with the console, the Dolby. I can do all zoning, delaying, everything I want to do in the Dolby and just get lines from the house. Yeah, and virtual sound check, I basically don't even listen to pre-recorded music anymore, because if I want to know what the kick drum sounds like, I just turn on the kick drum. If I want to hear Matt's vocal, I know what it sounds like, instead of listening to something that's being EQ'd and mastered to death or to 120 dB or whatever today's current mastering level is versus 1980 listening to Dire Straits or something. So it's been a really, really useful tool for me, for sure, especially, you know, if somebody's feeling under the weather or Matt, you know, needs a vocal break, like I don't need him to overexert himself in sound check because I've already done it before anybody's even walked in the building. It's pretty seamless, more or less. In the size of the rooms we're doing, I don't have to deal with stage volume too much, so I'm not blending the acoustic sound of a snare drum or the guitar amp volume with the PA. I pretty much have full control over every channel that if I don't turn it up, you're not going to hear it. That's been pretty seamless. Plus the band can come out, you know, the band guys can say, hey, from that show 2 nights ago, can I hear the guitar solo in this song? Because I really liked what I did. And then they can go back and do it, or like take what they did and make it better, you know, if they felt that was like the performance they wanted to capture. If we're doing a bar show, I typically will recall the last bar show we did, both on the profile and on the Pro Tools rig. And then if we're doing a soft seat theater, I'll recall that show file and that Pro Tools file, just to try to get some consistency out of what a room could be in terms of like a bar sounding like a bar or a theater being more like a theater. I'm using the Waves in phase on a couple of things like kick in and out. I do a lot of DI and mic stuff, bass DI, bass mic, guitar DIs, the Palmer passive DIs, as well as microphones. So I use the in phase to try to lock everything in, and every day I check it. I don't just kind of use it. I'll check it using virtual sound check to make sure everything is still lined up, and then when I flip over to the stage rack to look for the inputs when we're line checking, I'll redo it again to make sure today's placement is exactly locked up where it's supposed to be.
Cool.
And then on Mad, I'm using the Waves Q8 EQ and the Renaissance compressor. And then a lot of the rest of it's stock. I'm a big fan of the BF76, so I use that a lot on things like snare drum and bass to get like a really tight sound out of them. And then I really like the sound of the onboard 7-band EQ, so even on things like rack toms, floor toms, snare drum, I'll just use that instead of the onboard EQ. I use the Avid just the Avid 7-bands. My thoughts on plugins are that unless I own them, I don't use them. So if I don't own them and I'm not traveling with an iLock, I won't use it, because if you put it in your file at a festival because it was on the console and you thought it was a cool thing to use, you get to the next place, they don't have it, and you wonder where your sound went because you built your sound out of using the EQ from the plugin or the gain in a plugin or saturation from the plugin, and I just don't think if you don't own it, don't use it. There's definitely challenges being a tour manager and a front of house engineer at the same time. It's just, to me, about a routine and getting a structure for your day down. It starts like months before the tour starts with advancing, so that when we get to a show, I'm not scrambling trying to do things. It's, you know, I look at the local promoter to help out doing all the things they need to do in terms of catering, running around. You know, if our guitar tech says I need stuff, then, you know, I can send the promoter or a runner to go get that stuff. And then it's just I just sort of get into a rhythm with Matt or with the other guys in the band on how everybody likes to operate. And then within the first 3 or 4 days, we're already in a rhythm that, you know, everybody has. I know how my day's going to go. I have very specific things I do during the day in terms of waking up and either helping the driver park the bus or having to go grab coffees for somebody or having to go to the hotel at a specific time to take a shower, because I know that's my one window to take a shower. And then, but I build enough time in our day schedule that nobody is ever rushed.